Hi everyone, welcome to topic number 23, convert between fraction decimal and percent. So let's take a look. Okay, how do we convert fraction decimal and percent? See, it turns out all three things are actually equivalent to one another. So that's the reason why we're able to convert them. And one of the key reasons why we want to learn how to convert is that percent is simply a notation. It is not operable. What that means is you if you take a 10%, if you take a 10% plus a 10%, most people would say, okay, we get 20%. But if you take a 10% times a 10%, then you actually do not get 100%. Okay. Yes, that is actually not mathematically true. So it turns out percent is not operable. You actually cannot add, subtract, multiply, and divide percentage. So what you do instead is you convert the percent into decimal form or into a fraction form, decimal notation or fraction notation. Then you can add, subtract, multiply, and divide. So we've been talking about how to add, subtract, multiply, divide, whole number, fraction, and decimals. Okay, so all that is leading up to conversions here, dealing with percents. All right, so how do we actually convert in between those three? So it depends on what you're starting out with. So let's start out with convert fraction into a decimal notation. So we've done this before. So if you start with a fraction, you wanted to convert into decimal notation, you simply just have to divide the fraction. Whether you divide the fraction yourself by hand or you let the calculator divide for you. So if I type in 1 divided by 2, of course, the calculator give me 0.5. All right, but the whole concept here is you have to divide. You actually have to divide the fraction in order to get the decimal notations. Convert between decimal notation back into a fraction notation. So if I have a zero point 0.5, okay, I need to go back to a fraction notation. Then you need to, for scientific calculator, you will need this command F to D, fraction to decimal or decimal back to fraction. So for graphing calculator, since I got zero point 0.5 already on the calculator, I'm going to press math, choose number one, and convert back to a fraction, a half. Okay. So it's always easier to use calculator to convert back into to convert decimal back into a fraction. Okay. Because remember, repeating decimals, you know, for if we have repeating decimals, you actually cannot just simply read the decimal convert into a fraction because repeating decimals, decimal places never ends. So that's why you still need to, sometimes you still need to know how to use your calculator to do the conversions back into a fraction. Convert percent notation to decimal notations. Okay, so this is conversion between, percent to decimal or decimal back into a percent. So what you want to do, so I actually wrote, let's write decimal here. Convert decimal notation to percent notation. How about that? All right, so the way you do it is you move the decimal to the, I got these backwards. Tell you what, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna keep these words and we're gonna change these two problems. All right, let's do 10%. Let's do zero point 0.5 here. What did I have here? Zero point 0.5. Okay, let's swap the two problems. Sorry about that. Convert percent into a decimal. So if you started with a percent, what you do is you move your decimal places two places to the left. So for the number 10, right? 10%, the decimal is behind it. You will simply move the decimal to the left two places. Moving the decimal to the left two places is also equivalent to divided by 100. So when we talk about the power of tens in terms of division, divided by 10 means move the decimal to the left two places. So I wrote divided by 10 here because this way number two is really meant for be the calculator. So if you have 10% and you want to put in the calculator, you simply type in 10, right? Divided by 100. And that will give you the decimal notation answer, 0.1. Okay. If you start out with percent, you want to convert into decimal. You either move the decimal to the left two places, or in the calculator, you will simply divide it by 100. Okay, I will need you to know both ways. All right, convert percent notation into decimal notation. So we talk about percent notation before. Hi, everybody. Welcome to topic number 23, conversion between fraction decimal and percent. Okay, so why do we need to convert percent into decimal notation or fraction notation? And the reason is this: percent notation is not operable. That means you cannot add, subtract, multiply, and divide percentage. So for example, if I have a 10% and I add onto another 10%, most people will say that's 20%, which is true. But if you take a 10% times another 10%, it will actually never equal to 100%. So that tells you that percent cannot be multiplied, add, subtract, or divided. And that's the reason why we want to convert these percent into decimal notations or fraction notations in order to add, subtract, multiply, divide. Okay. So let's start up with fractions. Okay. Convert fraction into a decimal notations. So we talked about this before. If you started with a fraction and you want decimal answers, all you have to do is simply divide the fractions. So you can divide it by hand or you can divide it using a calculator. So if I were typing 1 divided by 2, then I get 0.5, of course. All right. To convert decimal notations back into a fraction notations, we can either read it, okay, like we did before. We read the decimal correctly, then we can write out the fraction answers, or we can use a calculator. The reason why we still need to know how to use in the calculator because the repeating decimals. If I ever end up with a repeating decimals on my calculator, there's no way I could read them and then and then write out the fraction answer. Okay, because of decimal places never ends. That's why we still have to know how to use the calculator to convert decimals back into a fraction. So with the 0.5 on my calculator already, so for my graphing calculator, I can just simply press math and choose number one, two fractions. That'll give me a half. If you have one of those scientific calculator, again, you're looking for the command F to D. Okay, decimal to fraction, fraction to decimals. Okay, let's take a look at how we convert percentage into a decimal notations. Okay, so we talk about something, we talked about power of tens before. In terms of division, whenever we move decimal to the left two places, it's equivalent of divided by 100. So whenever I'm starting with a percent to convert into decimal notations, I will simply move my decimal to the left two places, which is the same as if I say divided by 100. So I need you to know both ways. I need you to know how to do it in the calculator as well. So typing your percent number, don't type in the percent symbols, okay? Try not to use a percent symbol on the scientific calculator. Actually trying to learn how to, actually trying to remember, start with a percent. If you want decimal, you got divided by 100 or move the decimal to the left two places. 0.1, same thing, okay? Now, if I started with a decimal number and I want to convert into a percent notation, then I will do it reverse. I will move my decimal to the right two places, which is equivalent of multiply by 100. So we talk about power of tens times 100 means move the decimal to the right two places. So most of the students can do it just by looking at it. 0.5, move the decimal to the right two places. Decimal is here now. It's not right there anymore. One empty slot, so that give me 50%. So if you want percent, you times 100 or move the decimal to the right two places. If you don't want percent, then you will actually divide it by 100. Okay. Now, if the percent notation end up to be a repeating decimals, okay, maybe like 1.1111111%, okay, then I would need you to convert it into a mixed number percent. So that's the reason why I keep on mentioning about the calculator. You want calculator to convert the repeating decimals back into a fraction for you. So we will run into here just in a minute, okay? So let's give a try. Start out with a fraction. I want decimal answers. So what I do is use a calculator to divide for me. 5 divided by 6. And I get 0.83 is repeating. To convert into a percent, all I need to do, see, you can move the decimal to the right two places, or you can do it in the calculator, times 100. All right, I want you to convert this percent, this repeating decimal percent, into a mixed number. So now if you have a scientific calculator, this is when you start using AB over, use the F to D, then using the AB over C convert to D over E, something like that. Any type of command look like these help you convert between mixed number and improper fractions. But for graphing calculator, I already know my whole number on the mixed number is 83. So what I do is I take away my whole number and just convert my repeating decimals into a fraction. So that tell me my answer, 83 and 1/3 percent. And make sure you write the percent notation. Whenever your answer is a percent, you got to write down the percent notation sign. Otherwise, it's actually incorrect. Let's try 5 over 36. 5 divided by 36. I want the decimal answer first, which is 1.138 repeating. Only the 8 is repeating. So if you ask Mr. Chen why there's a 9 there, well, it's supposed to be an 8. But once you go on the screen, there's another 8. That 8 will make this 8 go up to become a 9. So that's how we know this is a repeating 8. All right. If you move to the right two places, or if you times 100 in the calculator, you actually get out with 13.8 repeating percent. So same thing, scientific calculator. Let's convert it into a mixed number by go through F to D and mixed number to and then convert improper fraction back into a mixed number. For graphing calculator, I know my whole number part of the answer is already 13. So then I'm gonna take away the 13 and convert rest of the 0.8 repeating into a fraction. 8 over 9, 13 and 8 over 9%. Okay. All right. If you started with decimals, okay, decimals go to percent. I simply move my decimal to the right two places or times 100. So I get 4%. So these answers does not have a repeating decimals on the percent. So you just keep them like it is. Okay. You don't have to convert into a mixed number. All right. Now to go back to a fraction, I can use a calculator or I can just do it by hand. This is 4 over, so this will be reading it as 4/100th. Then you can reduce the fraction, or you can type it in 0.04 and do the F to D or number one, math number one, convert to fraction. It'll tell me it's 1 over 25. Okay, I'm gonna move the decimal to the right two places. So that will be 0.0, right? 1201%. All right, I'm gonna convert 0.0001 decimal notation back into a fraction. All right, so this crazy looking thing is called the scientific notation. Okay, it's called the scientific notation. The E stand for times 10. The -4 is referring to the exponent. So as you can see, my graphing calculator is not turning this back into a fraction for me. So what do? Well, I actually had to do it by reading it. this 1 is sitting at what place value? So sometimes just I gotta know how to do this stuff by hand. This 1 is sitting on 10, 100,000, 10,000. So that's 1 over 10,000. Okay, that would be the fraction answer. All right, 4.5. So by the way, I don't know if you noticed, all percent is actually, you know, per hundredth. Per hundred means divided by 100. So whenever you end up with an answer that are bigger than 1, because you got to remember, 100% is equivalent to 1. So anything higher than 1 is going to be over 100%. So this 4.5 is going to be way over 100%. Because when I move my decimal to the right 2 places, 1, 2, there's a 1 empty slot where I got to put my zeros in. So my answer is actually 450%. Okay. Now to go backwards, if I want my answer to be a fraction, I will simply type in 4.5 and convert to fraction, which is 9 over 2. Okay. So remember, anything higher than a 1 from decimal notation, when you convert it to percent, it got to be over 100%. Okay. So 11% is less than 100%. So my answer will be in 0 point something. So if you started with percent, you need to go to decimal. Remember, we got divided by 100, or move my decimal 2 places to the left. So I get 0.11. So I'm gonna do it in the calculator because I got one more step I need to go, which is, oops, convert my 0.11 into a fraction, which most of you already know is gonna be 11 over 100. Acting up a little bit, sorry. Ooh, sorry about that. All right. 0.82% is not even 1% yet. So, gotta be very careful. 0.82%, right? If I do not want percent, I got to divide it by 100. So, or you can move the decimal to the left 2 places. So my decimal notation answer is 0.0082. All right, convert that into a fraction. 41 over 5,000. All right. 262% is over 100%. So my decimal notation will actually be bigger than 1. So if I move my decimal to the left 2 places, I can see my answer is 2.62. Or in the calculator, 262%. If I don't want percent, divided by 100. Then convert rest of it into a fraction. 131 over 50. Okay. Now, mixed number percent. Okay. So we got to type it in the calculator. So open parenthesis, right? Got to type in the whole number plus the fraction, 1 divided by 9. When you press equal enter right now, it's going to give you a decimal, but it's still going to be a percent. To get rid of the percent, I have to literally type in divided by 100. So if I never type in divided by 100, then I'm still a percent. Okay, so a lot of students mess it up here. So this is actually 0.221 repeating. Okay, so if I convert to a fraction using my calculator, so this is what I've been saying, you got to be able to do this in a calculator because that repeating decimal is now going to become 199 over 900. All right, so if I did not put divided by 100, then I end up with 22.1 repeating. Which one I convert to a fraction is 199 over 9. That's all wrong. So whenever you start with a percent, you got to divide it by 100. You got to divide by 100. Otherwise, you're still a percent. All right, 11 and 2 over 9. So let's try again. Parenthesis, 11 plus 2 divided by 9, right? That's a mixed number. I want to get rid of the percent, so I make sure I divide it by 100, which is 0.12, 112 repeating. 2 is repeating. So real quick, F to D or convert to fraction in the graphing calculator, 101 over 900. Okay. All right, let's go over some of the homework questions real quick. Number one, what are the two ways to convert decimal notation to percent notation? Decimal to percent. Decimal to percent. Let me bring this up. Ooh, too far. Let me just go back over here. Decimal to percent. That'll be this one right here. Convert decimal notation to percent. What are the two ways? Sorry about that. My elbow was pressing the enter button. All right. Convert decimal to percent. Here are the two ways. Way number one, move the decimal to the right two places. Way number two, times by 100. Which in the following is the percent equivalent of 0.0016? So this is a decimal notation, right? Convert decimal to percent. We got to move the decimal to the right two places. Okay, make your choice. Convert the following fraction notation into a percent notation. Okay, so you start out with 2 over 3. So do these problems similar to these right here. Okay, like the 5 over 6. Divide, get the decimal answers, and from the decimal answer times 100 in your calculator, and then tell me what is the mixed number answer. Okay, 55 and 5 over 9%. So this is similar to the last two we just did. Started with a mixed number percent. Type it in the calculator. Make sure you also type in divided by 100. Then whatever that decimal answer is, convert it into a fraction. Okay, so remember now, the graphic equation, the three dots that you see on the D2L. Make sure you use those. Okay, make sure you enter it through the graphic equation. Convert the following decimal notation into a percent. Excuse me, 1.63 is this is a decimal notation, right? This is over 1, so this is going to be over 100%. So convert decimal to percent, move the decimal to the right two places, and don't forget to enter the percent sign. Okay, so this one is 2.5 or 2.5. Okay, start out with like a decimal, same thing as this one, same thing as question number 5. Okay, make sure you times 100 or move the decimal to the right two places. All right, that will conclude the video on how to convert between fraction, decimal, and percent. Thank you for watching.